On today's Into Your Head podcast number 691, something about witches causing human beings to not be vegetarians anymore. Hello. I've always been a great believer in the dictum, reap what you sow. You're going to reap what you sow. Now that may be a somewhat modernised and adapted version of an older proverb. I'm not quite sure. You never know with these pop culture things. They get turned into songs and then someone covers them and they get changed and you never know what's the original thing and what's the new thing. But no, suffice to say, reap what you sow. Basically means you go out into your garden, metaphorically of course. This is all metaphorical. It's a freaking proverb. It's a metaphor. It's not meant to be taken literally. But no, within the confines of the metaphor, you go out into your garden, assuming you have a vegetable garden, which in the metaphor you do. You don't really have to have one, but you do in the world in which you're imagining this. It's not a permanent world. It's a world that you bring into existence in your imagination for a couple of seconds while you're interpreting this proverb. For practical use, you create a fictional universe. It only needs to exist for a few seconds. A universe in which you have a vegetable patch in your back garden. Although now that you mention it, it involves sowing stuff, and it's going to take several months for it to grow. So no, this fictional universe will have to exist for a few months. Although I suppose you could have it where time moves faster in one universe than another. So the universe only needs to exist in our universe, the universe of your imagination, for a few seconds, and during that few seconds several months can pass within that imaginary universe. I suppose that could work. Anyway, you sow the seeds and then you reap what you sow. During harvest time, you go out there and you say, oh, I sowed some stuff a few months ago. I wonder if it's magically turned into gold, and unless you planted gold then there's not going to be gold there, because you reap what you sow. It's a bit obvious really. If you sow stuff, the stuff that you're going to reap at the end of it is going to be the stuff you sowed, except grown. If you do it properly, it grows like the clappers. You put it in the ground, you water it, you let the rain do its work, maybe you fertilise it a bit, or you let your cats crap on it, and then you let it grow. Let it grow. Speaking words of wisdom, let it grow. That's a Beatles song, except slightly modified, if I remember rightly. Anyway, you reap what you sow. Isn't there a don't fear the reaper as well? As people used to have a fear of gardening. They thought it was pretty much witchcraft, which is understandable. They put these tiny little seeds in the ground and they just apparently magically grow into big plants that you could eat. You could eat them. And people said, Christ, I'm afraid of that. That's like witchcraft. Those reapers are fucking freaks. Stay away from them. In fact, let's burn them. We'll burn the reapers and then we'll cook them and eat them. And that's how man went from being vegetarians to being well, not cannibals, because we're not cannibals now, but they started with that and they turned into meat eaters. They said, oh, this tastes nice, but I suppose technically we can't really morally justify burning someone every time you want to eat, so maybe we'll find something else that has meat on it. Do animals have meat on it, I wonder? And then they said, wait a minute, what's that red stuff? And someone said, oh, I think you've just invented fire. And someone said, that's already been invented. And someone else said, no, it's the wheel that's already been invented. It's okay, I can invent fire. We haven't invented the fire yet, so we can invent fire. Just don't reinvent the wheel. And someone else says, why not? What the fucking hell is wrong with reinventing the wheel? For one thing, if you take a look at this tweet that I wrote the other day, what's this I said? Because this is relevant to this now. Hold on a minute. Before you start bitching at people who reinvent the wheel, consider that in order to do so, they must also have invented time travel. Now, of course, in those days, people probably had no concept of time travel either, and they would have thought it was witchcraft. So I suppose it's a vicious circle, really, which in a way is a wheel, but they already had the wheel, so they didn't think that was witchcraft. They said, oh, that's just a wheel, it's fine. It's like the circle of life. The circle of life, it's the wheel of fortune, it's the brand of gold, it's the leap of fate, it's the circle of life, and a great night was had by all. Anyway, hello, and welcome to the show. Two cats walk into a bar. One of the cats goes straight up to the bar counter and says, hello, can I have a litre of your finest, well, not your finest, frankly, your cheap own brand stimulation drink, the one that comes in the 1 litre bottle. I have a litre of that, please. And the man behind the bar says, we don't sell those in here. We only sell Red Bull by the thimble. Do you want a shot of Red Bull? And the cat says, oh, Christ, no. I'm going to make a podcast. I'll need at least half a litre. So I buy it in litre bottles. If I were to go buying thimbles of Red Bull, enough to make a frigging podcast, I'd have to get 18 of them. And then I'd run up a what do you call it, a bar tab in here. Well, that's a bit presumptuous of me. I'm assuming you'd give me credit, which frankly you shouldn't, because I'm not going to be able to pay you off, which is why I'm not taking you on board. Not to be a cheapskate or anything, it's just that I can't pay for it. That's why I'm not going to order that. I'm not going to order a series of thimblefuls of Red Bull. No offence to the hard-working people at Red Bull who spend their day doing something with go-karts apparently, and then I don't know, making energy drinks, making expensive non-rip-off, non-generic energy drinks. What's the difference between generic and non-generic? Here's a question for you. They say generic, but you look at the generic bottle and it'll say something like Tesco value or some crap like that. That's not generic. Generic is if it has no name. Horse, what's that song? Went to the desert on the horse with no name. It felt good to get out of the rain on the desert. You can't remember your name because there's no one to... Why would you need to remember your name in the desert? Well, I think the whole point of the song is that you don't. He's saying you don't need to remember your name in the desert. There's absolutely no need for it, which I'm not completely sure is true. Maybe if you go into the desert on your own, I suppose, yes. Of course, back in the old days, going into the desert on your own for 40 days was considered a rite of passage for all deities and their sons. If you were any self-respecting son of a god, would go into the desert for 40 days and nights. It was never just the days. It was never just the nights. You couldn't go 9 to 5 into the desert for 40 days. No, you're expected to stay the night. Any other job, if you wanted to stay the night there every night for 40 days, they'd say, no, you can't do that. We're not fucking paying your expenses. Go home to your house at 5 o'clock and stay there and come back in the morning and work here office hours. But no, apparently if you're going into the desert, you can stay all day and all night. I think the reason behind it is that you're on a thing where you're not eating either. You don't eat for 40 days. You're on some sort of a fast, so that cuts down on the expenses. Maybe they're more willing to pay. Well, who's your employer? If you're going into the... I don't know. Anyway, no, not unless you have the generic energy drinks. So maybe I'll have a pint of your finest Guinness instead, please. And the man behind the bar says, certainly, sir. Or do you want generic Guinness? And the cat says, is there such a thing as generic Guinness? And the barman says, no, but there is Beamish, which is quite close to Guinness, and there's Murphy's, which is a little more expensive than Guinness. It's probably, a little more expensive than Beamish, so it's probably not really a saving, and it tastes like milk. So I'd recommend Beamish. You get it a bit cheaper, you pour it down your gullet, and then you go off and do your, what did you say it was, a podcast? the freaking hell is that? And the cat says, I've already explained podcasting to 53 different barmen today. If you don't mind, I won't go into it again, maybe another time. And the barman says, that's fine. What do you mean though, 53 other barman? And the cat says, I probably shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have said that. And the barman says, is this some sort of a scam? And the cat says, well, if it is, it's not working very well, because what am I getting out of this? And the barman says, it's not working very well because what am I getting out of this? That's not proper English. You don't say because and then a question. I don't know. That's not a statement at all. And the cat says, I'm a fucking cat. And the barman says, we've had several cat bar stories on this series so far where cats have had perfectly intelligent conversations with barman, so don't give me that crap about being a cat and therefore not able to construct a sentence. It doesn't work on me. I'm not buying it. I'm too experienced now with that. And the cat says, fair enough. And a great night is had by all. Monkey nuts, that's what they call them. They call them big steaming, dolloping piles of shit-eating, piss-piling monkey nuts. And one of the monkey nuts, listener Andrew, has written to me with a query. He says, off to dance to soul and ska music. The floor at the venue gets a bit sticky at times because of spillages. I've run out of talcum powder. Is salt a more acceptable strategy than flour? I've used flour on the floor with flagrant disregard for gluten content. I'm at a loss as to what to do. Now, the thing you have to remember about this, Andrew, if that's your real name, well, even if it's not, I'm happy to call you by your fake name. This is the name under which you communicated with me, and that's fine. A name is just a label. Just a label. It doesn't need to be real or accurate. I could get a packet of fig rolls in a packet here, and as long as they're transparent and in a clear package so I can see what they are, doesn't matter what the label says. The label could say hydrosodium glutamate mixed with petrol. I'll still be able to see through that's why we don't need fucking labels. We just need transparent packages. Same with people. You don't need a name. You just need to be transparent. So what you see is what you get. So if you're a person, don't be worrying about what your name is or what your label is or what you are. Just be visible so we can look at you. Be like a book cover. You look at the book cover, it doesn't need to have words on it. It can just have a big picture. Is that, or maybe not, I don't know. If you look at the front of a Stephen King book and you see Carrie from the book Carrie with blood coming out of her face and other places, you don't need a title on that. All you need to know is, this is a book that's got some woman with blood coming out of her face. Either I like that sort of thing or I don't. You don't need a name. You don't go, I like sometimes books about women with blood coming out of their faces or other places, but it depends on what the woman is called. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work like that. So Andrew, I hope that helps, and thank you very much for your query. I'll just delete that now. Don't want that in there anymore. And while I'm on the subject, listener Gamma Goblin from Cork sent me, in case you missed the previous episode 690, Gamma Goblin has boiled it down to a 9-second summary, which you can hear as follows. Now, I know what you're thinking there, and I thought exactly the same thing myself, but for legal reasons we can't say that. You can't say that, because it's not that anyway. It just sounds like that. No, that's just a speeded up version of my previous podcast. It's not Gamma Goblin blowing into a frigging bong. I don't really even know what blowing into a bong sounds like. I've heard a couple of other podcasts where it's done, and I assume that they all sound like that, or maybe there's just particular ones that sound like that. I'm not an expert on drug culture. I don't think I should have to be, quite frankly, to do a podcast. Just because someone sends me in a bit of audio that sounds a bit like that but isn't, that doesn't mean I should have to become an expert on drugs. Give me a fucking break. If I was an expert on drugs, I can tell you I do something other than this with my days. I'd go and, I don't know, what would I do? Would I, maybe I'd become a drug abuser, except I do it properly with knowledge. I'd say, I'm going to abuse this drug to the limit, but not become addicted to it. I'm going to pour some of it down my gullet in a measured way. I'll get out pipettes and burettes and I'll do it properly. I like your man on that program. Breaking Bad, or you Americans call it Breaking Bad. We call it Breaking Bad. It's the same words, except we say it properly. We say it properly using proper emphasis, so people can understand what we're saying. We say Breaking Bad, because they're Breaking Bad. And you call it Breaking Bad. Did you see Breaking Bad? Absolutely fucking ridiculous. Speak properly, foreigners. Stop turning our language into a mere generic thing that you can just no, languages are not generic. You have to do the proper original brand name language, the English, the great British English language. It's absolutely great. Language. If it is once you have a bit of language, the world's your oyster. That's what they say. The world is your oyster. Something toyster. Is toyster a word? Probably isn't. So I'm hypocriticizing myself now. Let's see. What did I say? Toyster. Let's see. Let's look it up now. Toysteo. Oh, there's a toyster.com. I won't click on it in case it's a porn site. What else? It's someone's first name. There's a Toyster Brincados on Twitter. There's a lot of stuff written in foreign. I think it might be a foreign word, Toyster. I'm not going to click on any of these frigging links, I can tell you. There's a company called Toyster Brincados Limited as well. Isn't that fantastic? Apparently it is a word, or maybe wasn't a word, but it's a trademark and someone registered it, which I suppose is pretty much as close as you can get to being legit with a word. If someone trademarks it, then the law says it's a word. Whether we like it or not, whether we want to accept it or not, we have to, because it's the law. If you're not careful, if you don't respect the law, you can end up having the R. Someone will come around and sue you for every penny you've got, and if you haven't got any pennies, they'll sue the arse off you and they'll sell your arse. That's what they do. They'll sell your arse. That's a metaphor. Don't worry. They're not going to. Well, you shouldn't. You should worry anyway, but it's a metaphor for something else that you should worry about. I don't know what. The consequences of such a situation that would have a metaphor for, that would be selling your arse. I don't know what the actual thing is a metaphor for. So I suppose it's a mystery metaphor. I made a metaphor that refers to the consequences of something happening, but I don't know what the consequences are. So it's a fill in your own blanks metaphor. I suppose that's a new type of metaphor, really, isn't it? If I could say, if I were to go outside now, the cat would put the turnip in the monkey. I wouldn't know what that would be a metaphor for, because I'm not psychic. I don't know what's going to happen when I go outside the door, but I represent it as a metaphor. I have basically a generic metaphor, I suppose, is what you call it. It can be applied to. You should probably be a bit vague with the actual metaphor. Don't make it something that can be adapted to whatever the situation turns out to be a metaphor for. You say maybe if I go outside now, the cat news is going to emerge. That would work, because whatever happens will emerge, and you'll find out what it is then. But suppose, and three men were frozen. There's a while since I heard that phrase, I can tell you. Back when I was a child, if you said I suppose too much, someone would say, supposing 3 men are frozen, and they'd be considered very smart. They'd be correct. They'd be calling you out on your suppositions, and you'd feel bad as a result. You'd think, Christ, is this what I've become? Someone who supposes everything. I go, supposing so this, supposing that, supposing the other. Suppose they had a point, but you don't have to take that crap from an 80-year-old child when you're another 80-year-old child. For Christ's sake, everybody stop being hypercritical of each other before you've even grown your own hair anywhere other than on the top of your head. Anyway.
Support the Podcastual Arts at no cost to you. Just click through the Amazon link at intoyourhead.com whenever you go shopping for anything, even if you use Amazon UK or Canada. We'll take your weird foreign money here. We're not proud. Just visit intoyourhead.com and click on the appropriate Amazon banner.
Remember, we value the opinions of you, the humble and ignorant listener.
Send your topic suggestions to studio@intoyourhead.com.
Follow Neal at twitter.com/intoyourheadpod and pretend to like him at facebook.com/intoyourheadpodcast.
This is a programming announcement. Those of you who subscribe to the Into Your Head free extras and reruns feed will have recently heard a couple of programs by listener Mitch. Listener Mitch now is all grown up and has his own podcast available on SoundCloud. Now, to simplify matters, I've made an address you can go to get to it. I've made a one-word URL that'll forward you to his podcast. So go to intoyourhead.com/anti-disestablishmentarianism to get to Mitch's new podcast. That's intoyourhead.com/anti-disestablishmentarianism.
Into your head.
You're probably wondering lots of things. It's probably you're probably a multitasker. You're probably some woman. Women like to say this. They like to say, "Oh, look, I can multitask." And as I'm saying this, I'm doing 85 other things. They don't say whether the 85 other things are of any value to the world. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it's not known. Well, not known to me. Just because something's not known to me doesn't mean it's people like to say this on the TV news. They'll say it's not known whether anything will be said by such a person about such a thing. Well, it's not known to you, news reporter. That doesn't mean it's not known. It's probably known to the person who the story is about. Well, it's not known to you. So what you should say is, I don't know. We don't. The world in general doesn't know, if you like. That doesn't mean it's not known. The beginning of the universe may well be known, just not by the vast majority of people in it. So let's not get bogged down in what we know and what we don't know. If the whole world relied on what we know, then I can tell you there'd be nothing here. There'd be nothing here except a few balls of clay spinning around the sun, and a few rocks. Is a rock the same as a ball of clay? I don't know. They go on about these planets being rocks, but I think you'll find the topsoil is not rock. Or maybe it was at one point. Or you try growing vegetables in a bit of rock, I can tell you, and you'll soon find out why people stopped being vegetarians and started eating people, and had to make up something about them being witches. No, are witches people, or people witches? I don't know. If witches aren't people, then it doesn't count as cannibalism. If you don't consider the witch to be a person, well then I suppose it's unintentional cannibalism, which is like the manslaughter. We have a thing called manslaughter over here. It's like when you murder someone but you didn't mean it. You were careless and caused them to... where was I? I don't know. I was on something. Doesn't really matter. Nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters to me. That's a song. You young people won't remember it, because Wayne's World is several years ago now. But that's a song. I went, nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters to me. Nothing really matters to me. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see, 'cause it hasn't been done yet. Something. That's called a mashup. It's a mashup of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody with that thing they sing at football matches. Que sera, sera. That's probably not been done before. Maybe it has. We look her up. Have a look at this mashup. Let's see. Mashup of Bohemian Rhapsody with Que Sera Sera. Search. Let's have a look at this now. No, I don't think it's been done. Unless they've done it and they're just not very good at their search engine optimization. Or maybe they are very good at it and decided to set it so it doesn't appear in searches, because it's probably a breach of copyright and all sorts of other things. So that would be very wise if that's the case. Well done to whoever did it. I just can't say well done to them for their musical production, because I can't find it because it's hidden. But no, well done on your search engine optimization. Absolutely fantastic. We place value on people optimizing their websites for search engine optimization now. My day it used to place value on content, but no, you just put up a picture of someone else's cat with some words over it, and it's all great as long as you can make it come up in Google and get likes on Facebook. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. The internet isn't what it used to be. In my day, when I was a child, the internet was nothing. It was some secret network that the military had on their computers. They'd go in and say, we're going to declare war on Russia. Let's go into Facebook and have a little secret discussion. This was before the government started monitoring these things. I suppose the military is the government. It's called the military industrial complex. Or is it? Or is that a different thing? I don't know. I'm not going Googling that now. If I had enough Googling things for one episode, it gets a bit old after a while. There's more to life than Googling things. No. Anyway, 2 possible answers to the question, what is the meaning of life? Walk into a bar. One of the possible answers to the meaning of life goes straight up to the bar counter and says, hello, isn't it a lovely day? And the man behind the bar says, it is indeed. Although I can't help thinking that by having a conversation with you about the weather now, I'm missing out on a huge opportunity. And the possible answer to the question, what is the meaning of life, says, well, that's for me to know and for you to find out. And the man behind the bar says, if only you had your name written on your face, like the cover of a book does, then I'd probably be able to not miss out on an opportunity. And the possible answer to the question, what is the meaning of life, says, are you trying to link this back to the thing earlier in the show where he says, if people don't need names on them? And the man behind the bar says, yes, I am. And the possible answer to the question, what is the meaning of life, says, I think you're overthinking this. This show isn't as organised as that, so don't try and push it into something that has never been. It's a continuous, what do you call it, stream of consciousness. And the barman says, well, ironically, neither of us are conscious because we're fictional characters in a 2 something listening wherever you are woke into a bar story and the possible answer to the meaning of life, laughs politely and says, oh, it's a lovely day, all right. It's a lovely day, although I hear it's going to rain later. And a great night is had by all.
You've been listening to Neal tell you stories. About cats, probably. Neal talks a lot about cats. Send your topic suggestions to studio@intoyourhead.com.
Into your head.